You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. Family Law Talk. Presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a multi-state family law firm. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. We have an interesting topic today. The topic is the average cost of a divorce. This episode today is based on an article on our blog, iowadivorcelawyers.blog.com, dated December 2nd, 2024. And the title of that article is The Total Cost of a Divorce in Des Moines, Iowa. So as a follow-up to the episode today, go on over to that blog and read information on this topic in more detail. But let's go ahead and jump on into the topic at hand. Again, this is a common question. This is something lots of individuals want to know when they're going to be going through a divorce or they see a divorce imminently on the horizon for them. They want to be able to plan, they want to be able to budget, and there can obviously be a concern in terms of the overall cost because parties want to be able to move on with their life after a divorce. And so look, this article, references Des Moines, Iowa, but I think this topic is really relevant to, anybody going through a divorce, even in other states, in other jurisdictions. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. Look, the decision in terms of what lawyer to hire in a divorce is an important one. It's critical to have an attorney who brings compassion, empathy, obviously experience, knowledge, and then you want somebody who's going to be a zealous advocate as well. So all of these components are things that ought to be at the forefront when individuals are deciding what lawyer to represent them in their divorce matter, all right? So look, some individuals will meet one lawyer and they like that lawyer right out of the gates and they go with that lawyer. Some individuals meet lots of different lawyers or multiple different lawyers and then make a decision after they've meeting and spoken with several different options, and then they pick the lawyer that's most comfortable to them for their particular case. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. Some individuals get a referral to a lawyer and they instantly go to that lawyer based on the good things they've heard, but other individuals need to meet lots of different lawyers, okay? But when you get into the average cost of a divorce, it's a really difficult question, okay? And candidly, it can really vary. It can really vary based on the case facts itself, can vary based on the jurisdiction. Other components can cause a case to vary as well. For example, what judge is the case before, who is the opposing counsel, if there's a guardian ad litem, who is that, and are individuals really looking to work together to try to get the case settled, or is this a case where settlement is very difficult because parties are very far apart, all right? So when you get into the average cost of a divorce, it's important to know that most lawyers are charging by the hour, okay? There could be some individuals doing flat or fixed fees out there, but still, in my opinion, the prevailing way, the most common method in which lawyers bill individuals for divorce is by the hour, okay? And then these lawyers have an hourly rate, and the hourly rate is going to vary based on the lawyer and the law firm. Certain lawyers and law firms have been doing this longer. They charge a higher rate. They've got more experience, okay, doing this, so they charge more. Other lawyers might charge less. They haven't been doing this as long. They have their fees lower, okay? So you've got to know that out of the gates. But the biggest factor when you get past that in terms of the cost of the divorce is this going to be a case where there's prolonged litigation? All right, so where parties are very far apart on the issues in the case itself, that's going to cause the case to cost more. All right, the closer parties are in terms of reaching middle grounds and forging compromises, the less it's going to cost, because then theoretically the parties are able to enter a comprehensive settlement and resolve the case that way versus prolonged litigation, which can be very expensive, okay? The way I've explained this to clients throughout my career is to, put divorce cases generally into three camps, okay? There are some cases that are simple, that are uncontested. The parties agree to everything in terms of the disposition of the case. And these cases obviously are the cases that cost a lot less. All right, there's some cases that go to trial. The parties then take the case up on appeal. Maybe there's subsequent motions to modify, motions for contempt. And obviously this can cause a case to cost astronomically more. And then there's sort of that middle camp, which is that the case doesn't settle quick, it doesn't settle easily, but it doesn't result in a trial. So at some point, cooler heads prevail and parties ultimately settle the case. So these are the cases you would sort of put in the middle, okay? And then there's other pieces past that, which I think it's important for individuals to know when asking about the average cost of a divorce, which is, how much contact do you want with your attorney? If attorneys are billing by the hour, which most do, the more you call, the more you email, the more communication you want, it's going to run up the bill. Now, maybe you're willing to pay for that, and you're fine with that. You want a lot of contact and a lot of communication. I've always told clients, that's fine. You can call me and email me as you please. Just know that you get billed for that, so it costs you a lot more money. On the other hand, if a client, they don't call, they don't reach out very often, they respond to their attorney, and maybe they reach out sporadically, but it's not a regular thing, then obviously the cost of their case is going to be a heck of a lot less, all right? So that's your big key. Is this case going to be prolonged litigation? Is it going to be simple and easy? Or is it not simple and easy, but it settles somewhere along the way? And that really sort of puts these cases into these three camps, okay? Other big issues that can really come into play in terms of answering this question is the issue of spousal support, okay? If one individual wants spousal support, which is still called alimony in some jurisdictions, other it's not, and the other party doesn't want to pay it, that can really hang up a divorce settlement and make a case much more complex and oftentimes put it into the category of prolonged litigation. Child custody is the same thing. If parties can agree to in a custody arrangement simply and easily, and then that's obviously going to make the case a lot more simple. But where parties can't agree and parties want different things and they have different goals and different aspirations, then that can cause a case to go into the area of prolonged litigation, which could make it a lot more complex, okay? So let's break down some other questions as well, which is, again, let's go back to the average cost of a divorce in the United States. Look, listeners, you could go into Google, you could punch that question in. You'll see some numbers. I would candidly tell you, take that with a grain of salt. Some of it might have some accuracy. Some of it might not be accurate at all. Again, it's going to really vary based on the fact details, the jurisdiction the case is in, the judge that's before the guardian ad litem, the attorneys on the case, and then I think critically, how reasonable are the parties in compromising to make resolutions? If two individuals can't compromise, it's going to make it more expensive. And the thing about this, which is just reality, is that look, if parties were able to compromise easily, they might not be getting divorced in the first place. Lots of individuals end up getting divorced because compromise is not easy. Parties see the world quite a bit differently. And so if you're one of these individuals, you're thinking, goodness, me and my soon-to-be ex, we don't agree on much. You just have to know that could make the case a lot more expensive. And that's just the truth, okay? In terms of what is the most expensive way to get a divorce is another question lots of individuals ask. Again, it comes down to reaching agreements, okay? So both parties wanting a divorce is a good thing. That will make it less expensive if that is the goal. Okay, but you still have to agree on the disposition. So child custody, spousal maintenance, property and debt division. And so the way to make the case less expensive is to compromise and reach agreements on these issues. Where parties can't, then that makes it difficult. Okay, obviously parties can consider a mediation, collaborative law. That can sometimes be helpful too. But no matter, how this plays out, the issue is, can you and your soon-to-be ex compromise on these issues to reach a resolution? If you can't, it's going to make the case, more expensive. All right. Another question is, well, what about no-fault divorce? I mean, I thought with no-fault divorce that would make things less expensive. Well, listen, in a way it does, because back in the day, to get divorced, parties had to show fault. So you would have to prove an affair or marital misconduct of some kind, mental cruelty, abuse. Like, there would have to be cause. Okay, so with the advent of no-fault divorce, you don't have to prove cause. You just have to prove that the marriage is irretrievably broken. Okay, but that just gets you past the hurdle of we're going to get divorced. That still doesn't deal with the disposition in terms of custody, child custody, child support, spousal maintenance, property and debt division. So even if both parties want a divorce, that could be a good thing in terms of the cost, but there's more to it. It's the disposition. And if you still disagree on the disposition, that makes things very challenging. Okay? Another question lots of individuals ask, and it's kind of our final one here we're going to cover today, which is, well, why do I need a divorce lawyer? Isn't this an easy process where we could just submit the paperwork and get divorced on our own? Listen, there could be some forms online available for pro se litigants to complete and submit to courts. And theoretically, parties can try that without getting a lawyer. But you just have to be careful. Okay. Again, issue one is, do you even have an agreement with your ex on the disposition of the case? If you don't have an agreement on the disposition, which means you agree on everything, custody, child support, spousal maintenance, property and debt division. If you don't agree on all these items, then trying to do it yourself and fill out forms, that's not going to work until you have an agreement. Okay. And then issue two is this, which is, these cases have ramifications. So I've seen some parties fill out forms, complete forms. They're not lawyers. Okay. This leads to disputes later, which actually leads to litigation, which could make it harder and more expensive because it's hard to fix something when it's theoretically broken than to not have it be broken on the front end. Okay, so that's another issue. And then past that, this is a giant issue that people don't really think about. But to fill out forms on your own and to get divorced, you're ultimately going to have the judge sign off on that and approve it. But lots of parties don't know how to fill out the forms correctly. They don't know how to complete it. A good metaphor, which I've explained to clients through the years, is this, which is, let's say you're not good at algebra, okay? So you're not skilled in algebra. This is a difficult subject for you. I think for individuals who aren't lawyers, filling out legal paperwork is difficult. It's challenging. This is why lawyers go to law school, to learn how to do this stuff. Well, filling out this paperwork and getting the judge to sign off on it practically requires you get 100% on your algebra exam. So you fill out the paperwork perfectly, you do it to the satisfaction of the judge, and the judge is then willing to sign off on it. I've seen lots of instances where people tried to fill out the paperwork, they didn't do it right. The judge then wouldn't grant the divorce, and then parties had to run into our office later to have it done correctly to get the judge to sign off on the divorce paperwork. Okay, so doing paperwork on your own and submitting it to get divorced far easier than most individuals contemplate and think about. All right. So look, this is an important topic, one I wanted to talk about in the episode today. Again, as a follow-up to the episode, go on over to iowadivorcelawyersblog.com. Read the article titled "The Total Cost of a Divorce in Des Moines, Iowa." This will give you more information on this topic. But thanks for tuning in today. Stay tuned to our next episode coming up on Family Law Talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri or Illinois reviews or approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The information you obtained in this podcast is not, nor is it intended to be, legal advice. You should consult an attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. We invite you to contact us and welcome your calls, letters, and electronic mail. Contacting us does not create an attorney-client relationship. Please do not send any confidential information to us until such time as an attorney-client relationship has been established. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Kirk Stange is responsible for the content. Headquarters, Office, 120 South Central Avenue, Suite 450, Clayton, Missouri, 63105. Kirk Stange is licensed in Missouri, Illinois, and Kansas.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.